Beloved friends, I want to assure you tonight, your story of struggle is nearing its close. The long night of sorrow, the relentless waves of worry and weariness, they will soon give way to a glorious morning of relief and restoration. The one who sees you, the one whose heart is tender toward your pain, is standing ready to shut the door on this chapter of hardship. In the darkest times, you may question, is there hope? Will this ever end? Yes, yes, and amen. The Lord has heard every whisper of your heart, counted every tear that fell in secret. He is not deaf to your cries. He is not slow in responding, but mercifully he is already at work behind the scenes. So take heart, dear soul. The first step out of your valley of tears is to believe that relief is coming, that the divine author is turning the page. And regardless of how long it's been or how deep the pain, his timing is always perfect. Perhaps you feel as though your prayers have bounced off heaven's gates. You've poured your heart out, fasting, weeping, pleading, yet nothing changes. How long must I wait, you wonder? Has he abandoned me? Let me speak to you with confidence, as if you've already crossed the finish line. Hardship is never the end. Your current chapter, no matter how brutal, is not the conclusion of your story. Just when the world says it's over, the author says, now begins the miracle. Remember, in the Gospels, the beautiful dawn often follows the darkest hour. Before the sun rose on a new day, the cross stood a sign of agony and loss. Yet it wasn't the final word. On the third day, the stone rolled away and victory was proclaimed. In much the same way, your darkness may feel like finality, but in divine perspective, it's the prelude to celebration. Sometimes faith doesn't roar, it whispers. You might be clutching a half-broken rosary, fingertips trembling, voice barely more than a sigh. That's okay. Even a faint trembling hope that clings to God's promise is enough. He doesn't need your eloquence, only your reliance. Don't despise small beginnings or quiet prayers. A mustard seed faith, as humble as it seems, is enough to move mountains. The longest night cannot extinguish a spark of trust in God. He honors the feeble, fortifies the weak, and crowns persistent faith with breakthrough. You may ask, how do I hold on when nothing seems to change? First, rehearse what God has done. Remember the testimonies of his faithfulness in your past. Then, meditate on his unchanging nature. He is compassionate. He is gracious. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Most importantly, he is working, even when you can't see it. Dear friend, interpret the small shifts as divine breadcrumbs. A renewed strength, a kind word, a fresh idea, a momentary peace. These are not random. They are tokens of the new chapter stirring just beneath the surface. God specializes in turning wounded hearts into wonder-filled testimony. He writes comebacks better than we can imagine. When that crisis becomes a closed chapter, your story will radiate hope and inspire others. The door will swing open, quiet at first, then wide, as you step fully into your next season. Can you feel it? The curtain is beginning to lift. The long, slow tremor of shifting mountains is happening in your life, in your heart. Stand firm and expectant. Your God is faithful to complete what he started. You might wonder, why does God wait? Why does he allow hardship to press so firmly? These seasons are not purposeless. They are refinement. Like gold purified by fire, God uses trials to burn away impurities, pride, dependence on self, shallow faith. They are preparation. Sometimes what you're enduring is needed to equip you for greater service, deeper understanding, richer empathy. They are testimony. Your endurance becomes a vivid witness. When relief comes, your story rings louder. This is what God did. Allow this understanding to shift your perspective. You're not a victim of circumstance. You're a participant in a divine purpose. And when this chapter ends, you'll look back and say, it was worth it. God's voice isn't always thunderous. Oftentimes it's in the stillness. In the pre-dawn hours, when hope seems faint, his presence draws near. You may feel empty, but he is filling you. You may feel stuck, but he is molding you. Listen for that whisper. It says, I have not forgotten you. Relief is near. In your waiting, find sacred space for hearing his gentle assurances. Let that silence be your secret strength, not your defeat. Even in the most desperate times, there are hints of grace. Perhaps a word of encouragement from a stranger, an unexpected resource, or an inexplicable reassurance in your spirit. Don't dismiss these whispers. They are angelic nudges, divine pointers that your deliverance is close. He sends help through the kindness of others and even through events so small you might almost miss them. Be sensitive, thankful, watchful, because these are signals that your chapter of breakthrough is about to begin. A breakthrough doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it's a subtle shift, a newfound peace, a restored relationship, clarity of direction, healing that's gentle yet certain. But make no mistake, it's real, and it marks the close of the season of hardship. So stand up, raise your head, release the weight that's bowed you down. Even if you can't yet see the end, walk forward as if you've already seen it. Faith doesn't always follow feeling. It often leads when feeling falters. How beautiful it is to think of your prayers, each tear, each word, echoing before the throne of grace and stirring divine compassion. God counts every sigh. They're not wasted noise. They are precious music to his ear. When you cry out, you're not alone in the darkness. He hears, he remembers, he responds. There is a divine timetable at work, and it's orchestrated with wisdom beyond your understanding. The final minutes of your hardship are here. The rehearsal is ending. The floodgates are about to open. You will sing again. You'll laugh again. You'll worship freely again. You have not been defeated. You have been tested, but the prize is forthcoming. You will emerge stronger, wiser, and more radiant for having endured this trial by faith. Let that truth stir your soul. Let it rise within you like fire. Your deliverance is approaching, and the joy that follows will be deeper than you ever could have planned. Beloved, stand ready. This isn't the end of your story, but the start of a testimony. God is about to close this chapter of hardship, not to abandon you, but to launch you into your season of abundance, peace, and purpose. Let your heart hold on to this promise. No matter how long you've waited, no hardship is final when God is writing your story. May you walk in the sure and certain faith that the dawn is breaking. Your morning of mercy is at hand. And when the door opens, may you step through with faith, strength, and triumphant joy, eager for the next amazing chapter of life. He's prepared just for you. You may be going through a season right now that feels like it has no end in sight. The nights are long, the days are heavy, and the pain feels like a permanent part of your life. You wake up with it, carry it through the hours, and lie down at night, still wrestling with the weight of it. But let me tell you this with all the assurance of heaven backing these words. What you're facing now is not forever. Your hardship, no matter how deep, how long, or how cruel it seems, is temporary. It is not the final word on your life. It is not your destiny. It is a chapter, not the book. When you're in the midst of suffering, it's easy to believe that things will never change. You may have gone through months or even years of trial, and the enemy would love to convince you that this is it, that this is all you'll ever know. But the Word of God tells us something different. It tells us that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That's not just poetic language, it's a divine promise. It means that the dark season you're in right now has a closing date. God knows how long it will last, and he has already scheduled your breakthrough. We are so prone to measure life only by what we can see and feel. If we feel broken, we think we are beyond repair. If we see no open door, we assume we've been forgotten. But that's not how God works. His hand is often most present when it is least visible. Just because you don't see the end doesn't mean he hasn't written it. Just because the pain feels endless doesn't mean it will last forever. You are walking through a storm, yes, but you are walking through it. Not into it to stay, not to build a house there. You are passing through, and God himself is guiding you toward the other side. Your hardship may have changed things, it may have changed you, but it has not changed God. His nature remains kind. His heart still beats with love toward you. And his promises are still alive. What he has spoken over your life still stands, and no amount of hardship can erase the plans he has for you. In fact, the very hardship you're experiencing may be the soil in which the next season of fruitfulness will grow. The pressure, the fire, the trial, they are not meaningless. They are shaping something in you that only eternity will fully explain. So don't write your conclusion while you're still in the middle of the story. Don't decide your fate while you're still bleeding. Don't give in to despair while heaven is working behind the veil. Your hardship is real, but so is your hope. And your hope is stronger. There is a time appointed by God when this trial will end. And when it does, you will see that his grace not only sustained you, but was preparing something far greater than you ever imagined. You may not see it. You may not feel it. Everything around you may look still, silent, or even chaotic. But make no mistake, God is working behind the scenes in your life. While you're waiting, praying, and sometimes even wondering if your prayers are heard, God is orchestrating answers in the unseen realm. What feels like delay is not denial. What feels like silence is not absence. God's hand is moving in ways that your eyes cannot yet perceive, and your mind cannot yet comprehend. There are seasons when nothing seems to make sense. You do everything you know how to do, stay faithful, pray earnestly, seek God, try to stay hopeful, and yet doors remain shut. Problems remain unsolved, and pain remains present. It's easy in those moments to question whether God is paying attention. But the truth is, he is always active, even when you're unaware. He is always working, not only in the situation, but in you. God sees what you can't see. He's arranging circumstances, aligning people, shifting things in the spiritual realm to prepare for your breakthrough. You may think nothing's happening, but in reality, the most important work often takes place where no one is watching. Seeds grow underground before they ever sprout. Foundations are laid before buildings rise. And in your life, God is laying foundations that will hold what he's about to build. Think of Joseph in the Old Testament, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. If you looked at his life in those moments, you'd think God had forgotten him. But every step of the way, God was moving. He was working in the palace of Pharaoh long before Joseph was summoned. He was setting the stage for Joseph to go from the pit to the palace. Not one moment of pain was wasted. God was working behind the scenes, and when the right time came, everything changed in an instant. The same is true for you. While you wait, heaven is not still. Angels are being sent. Provision is being prepared. People are being positioned. And sometimes God delays the visible breakthrough because he's doing a deeper work in your heart, building strength, patience, and trust. Other times, the delay is for someone else's benefit. Someone he will connect with you at the right time. Either way, your waiting is not wasted. Your faith is not in vain. If you only trust what you can see, your faith will falter. But if you can believe that God is working behind the scenes, even when nothing changes in front of you, your hope will remain strong. That's what real faith is, trusting in the goodness and activity of God when you have no physical evidence yet. So today, stand in that quiet confidence. Rest in the knowledge that your God is faithful and he is never idle. One day soon, what he's been preparing behind the curtain will be revealed in full light, and you'll see that not a single moment of waiting, weeping, or wondering was ever wasted. God was working all along. Faith doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't need to shout, shake the room, or look impressive to others. Sometimes real faith is quiet, almost invisible. It's the kind of faith that whispers when everyone else is silent. It's the kind that clings to God with trembling hands and a barely audible voice saying, Lord, I still believe, even now. You might think your faith is weak because you're not feeling bold or strong. Maybe you don't always have the words. Maybe your prayers are broken sentences, tears on your pillow, or sighs too deep for words. But those prayers are just as powerful, maybe even more so than the loud declarations. God hears them all, and he honors the ones that come from a heart that's holding on when it would be easier to give up. Faith doesn't have to be seen by others to matter to God. It doesn't need a spotlight, a platform, or applause. Sometimes faith is just getting out of bed when you don't feel like it. Sometimes it's saying a short prayer when your heart feels numb. Sometimes it's staying kind when your world feels cruel. That quiet, steady belief, however small it feels, is sacred. And in God's kingdom, it's never overlooked. Jesus himself said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, not a mountain, not a boulder, a mustard seed, tiny, easily overlooked, but alive. That's the kind of faith he honors. Because it's not about the volume of your voice, it's about the direction of your trust. You can whisper your way into a miracle. You can cry your way into God's presence. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for sincerity. Think of the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' robe. She didn't make a scene. She didn't call out his name. She didn't even speak. She simply reached out in faith quietly, believing that even a small touch would be enough. And it was. Jesus stopped everything for her. He felt that silent act of faith, and it moved him deeply. He called her daughter and made her whole. You see, God doesn't need your faith to be loud. He just needs it to be real. He sees the quiet choices you make to trust him. Even when you don't understand, he sees the battle inside your heart when you choose to believe instead of give into fear. And he responds not to the noise, but to the heart. So don't judge your faith by how strong or dramatic it feels. Don't compare it to others. If all you can do today is say, God, I trust you, even if your voice is shaking, that's enough. If all you can do is whisper, help me believe, then you're already walking in faith. And the good news is he meets you there every time. In the quiet, God is listening. In the stillness, he is near. And in your smallest act of trust, he is moving. It's hard to see purpose in pain when you're in the middle of a storm and life feels unfair and everything you counted on starts to fall apart. The last thing you want to hear is that there's a reason for it. But it's true. Your struggle is not random. Your suffering is not wasted. There is a purpose woven through every tear you cry, every silent night you endure, every prayer that seems unanswered. God does not allow anything in your life without reason, especially not your pain. We live in a world that's full of brokenness, and hardship touches us all. But for those who walk with God, the struggle is never meaningless. In fact, some of the most powerful growth in your life is happening because of the pain not in spite of it. Struggle stretches you. It deepens your character. It teaches you things that comfort never could. It makes you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. It drives you to your knees, and from there to a deeper understanding of God's presence and grace. If everything were always easy, you might never know how strong your faith really is. You might never experience what it means to be fully dependent on God. But hardship brings you to a place where you realize you can't fix it, control it, or carry it on your own. And when you finally surrender, you discover a new dimension of God's strength working in you. It's in the struggle that your trust is refined. It's in the fire that your faith becomes real. Sometimes God uses the hardest seasons of our lives to prepare us for the most meaningful assignments. What you're going through right now could be the very thing that equips you to help someone else down the road. You'll have a testimony that's not just words. It will carry the weight of experience. When you've walked through the valley yourself, your voice has authority when you speak hope to others. Your wounds become a witness. Your scars become signs of survival and victory. The struggle also teaches you to value what truly matters. It strips away the distractions and brings clarity. It makes you grateful for things you once overlooked. Peace, health, family, breath in your lungs. It humbles you. And at the same time, it shows you how much you're capable of surviving when God is with you. You begin to see that His grace really is sufficient, that His strength really is made perfect in weakness. You may not understand all of it now. You may not see the full picture yet, but God does, and He is faithful to redeem every hard thing you've been through. One day, you'll look back and see how even the darkest moments were shaping you, molding you, preparing you. Nothing is wasted in His hands. The purpose may not always be obvious, but it is always there. So don't give up in the middle of the fight. Hold on through the trial. Keep pressing forward. Your struggle is not your identity, it's your training ground. God is using it to build something in you that comfort never could. And when this chapter closes, you'll come out stronger, deeper, and more anchored in His love than ever before. Breakthrough doesn't always come with flashing lights and loud announcements. In fact, some of the most powerful breakthroughs begin so quietly that you might miss them if you're not paying attention. They come not as earthquakes or storms, but as whispers, as gentle nudges in the spirit, as moments of unexpected peace in the middle of chaos. They are the soft signals that God is near and that change is already unfolding. Just beneath the surface, many of us expect deliverance to be dramatic. We want big moments, sudden shifts, and open doors that swing wide with no resistance. And while God is certainly able to move in miraculous, unmistakable ways, more often than not, His work begins in the subtle. The Holy Spirit doesn't need to shout to make His presence known. He often speaks through stillness, works through small steps, and reveals His hand in ways that are easy to overlook if our hearts are not tuned in. You may be waiting for the big breakthrough, healing, restoration, freedom, provision. But have you noticed the small changes? The way your heart is beginning to feel lighter, the fact that you're sleeping better than you were a month ago, the unexpected kindness from someone you didn't expect, that new idea that sparked hope. These are not coincidences. These are signs, gentle reminders that God is working and that something is shifting, even if it hasn't fully manifested yet. Think about the dawn. It doesn't explode into the sky. It arrives slowly, almost invisibly at first. A hint of light on the horizon, a softening of the darkness. Then a glow, then warmth. That's how breakthrough often comes. First in the spiritual realm, then in your mindset, then in your environment. Before you ever see the fullness of the promise, God starts preparing you to receive it. Sometimes we miss the signs of breakthrough because they don't look like what we expected. We were waiting for the Red Sea to part. But instead, we're being led step by step through dry ground that feels ordinary. But don't despise the ordinary. Don't ignore the small beginnings. The Bible says, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. That's how God moves, quietly, faithfully, intentionally. He might be softening someone's heart on your behalf. He might be opening a door that hasn't appeared yet. He might be healing your soul before he heals your situation. Whatever the process, know this: the breakthrough is in motion. And it's not a question of if, it's only a matter of when. So stay watchful, stay thankful, pay attention to the little graces, celebrate the small wins, because those are the seeds of your full deliverance. God is not teasing you with hope. He's preparing you for fulfillment. And even now, behind the scenes and within the silence, your breakthrough is already beginning. It may feel like you've been living in a season of loss, waiting, disappointment, or confusion. But hear this truth: that season is not the whole story. What you are walking through right now is not your permanent address. God is leading you forward. A new chapter is being written even as you sit in the ashes of the old one. And this new chapter, it's one of joy. It's one of purpose. Not forced happiness or shallow motivation, but deep, soul-settling joy that comes from knowing your story isn't over. You might not see it yet. It may not feel like anything is changing. But God is not bound by what you feel. His plans are not based on your emotions. They are anchored in his promises. And his promise is that he will turn mourning into dancing, heaviness into praise, and brokenness into beauty. Not only will he bring you out of this valley, but he will also lead you into a season that will make sense of the pain you've endured. Joy is not just an emotional state. In God's kingdom, it's a divine strength. It's a fruit of the Spirit. It's what fills your heart, even when life is uncertain, because it isn't based on circumstances. It's rooted in who God is and what he is doing. When he restores you, he doesn't just patch you up. He renews you. And when joy returns, it won't be shallow or fleeting. It will be real. It will come with peace, with laughter, and with the deep knowing that God brought you through what you thought might break you. But it's not only joy that awaits you, it's purpose. The pain you endured wasn't for nothing. The confusion, the hardship, the waiting, they are all being used to shape you for something greater. Purpose doesn't always come from success. Often it's born in the struggle. God uses what we walk through to prepare us to walk into something better. He never wastes anything. Your tears have watered the soil for the next season of growth. Your silence has deepened your root, and your waiting has prepared you for a door you wouldn't have been ready to walk through before. You may not return to what you lost, but what God gives you next will not be less. It will be different, and it will be better in ways you couldn't have predicted. New relationships, new clarity, new strength, new opportunities, a new sense of calling. That's what's coming. You haven't missed your moment. You haven't been forgotten. You haven't been left behind. You're being positioned for something new. So lift your eyes, begin to expect again. Begin to dream again. Don't bury your hope just because you've been disappointed. The same God who allowed you to walk through a hard chapter is the one who's turning the page. What's coming next won't just make you feel better. It will make you whole. Joy and purpose are not only possible, they are promised. Get ready. The next chapters is not just survival. It's restoration. It's vision. It's laughter. It's walking with your head high, not because everything is perfect, but because you know who holds your future. And he's writing something beautiful just for you.